Hey, privacy warriors and data drama enthusiasts. Today we're diving into what might be the most exciting thing to come out of Europe since sliced baguettes, the General Data Protection Regulation, or as the cool kids call it, GDPR. You know, that thing that made every website suddenly act like an overly apologetic friend who keeps asking for permission to exist. Picture this. It's 2016, and the EU is sitting there looking at the digital world like a parent who just discovered their teenager's browser history. They realize something needs to be done about data privacy, and not just another pretty please don't steal our data kind of regulation. But before we dive into the juicy details of how the EU basically became the world's strictest digital hall monitor, let's rewind a bit. Remember the Wild West days of the internet, when websites were collecting our data like kids hoarding Halloween candy, and privacy policies were about as readable as ancient hieroglyphics written in Comic Sans. The EU looked at this digital chaos and said, "Hold my Belgian beer." They decided to create what would become the most comprehensive data protection law in history. And let me tell you, they weren't messing around. This wasn't just another boring regulation. This was the superhero origin story of privacy rights. So what exactly pushed the EU to implement GDPR? Well, imagine your nosy neighbor Steve suddenly knowing everything about you, from your late-night shopping habits to that embarrassing playlist you made in 2012. That's basically what big tech companies were doing, except on a massive scale. And Steve at least brings cookies sometimes. The EU recognized three major issues. First, personal data was being treated like a free-for-all buffet. Second, existing regulations had more holes than Swiss cheese. And third, different countries had different rules, creating a regulatory nightmare that made about as much sense as pineapple on pizza. Sorry, Italy. Now let's talk about what GDPR actually does, because it's not just about those annoying cookie pop-ups that follow you around like a clingy ex. GDPR introduced some revolutionary concepts that made tech giants squirm more than a politician during a tax audit. First up, the right to be forgotten. Finally, a way to delete those embarrassing photos from that 2009 karaoke night. This right essentially tells companies, if I want my data gone, it better disappear faster than my motivation at the gym in February. Then there's data portability, the ability to take your data from one service to another. It's like being able to transfer your entire house, furniture and all, to a new location. No more being stuck with a service just because they're holding your data hostage. But wait, there's more. GDPR also introduced the concept of privacy by design. This means companies need to build privacy protection into their systems from the ground up, not just slap it on like a band-aid after a data breach. It's like requiring architects to include bathrooms in their building plans instead of suggesting people just figure it out later. And let's talk about those fines, because this is where the EU really showed its teeth. We're talking up to 20 million euros or 4% of global annual turnover, whichever is higher. That's not a slap on the wrist. That's a financial roundhouse kick to the face. It's like getting a parking ticket, except the ticket costs as much as the car, the parking lot, and the entire street. The implementation wasn't exactly smooth sailing, though. Remember Y2K panic. The lead up to GDPR implementation in 2018 was like that, but with more lawyers and fewer doomsday bunkers. Companies scrambled to comply, leading to what I like to call the Great Email Apocalypse of 2018, when every single service you'd ever signed up for suddenly remembered you existed and desperately wanted to update you about their privacy policy. And here we are in 2025, 7 years after GDPR went into effect, and the impact has been more significant than anyone expected. It's become the gold standard for privacy regulations worldwide, with countries from Brazil to California creating their own versions. It's like when one person starts a dance trend on TikTok, except instead of dance moves, it's privacy laws. The ripple effects have been fascinating. Remember when Facebook, now Meta, threw what can only be described as a corporate temper tantrum? Or when Google had to redesign their entire data collection system? It was like watching tech giants play a global game of the floor is lava, except the floor was non-compliant data practices. But here's where it gets really interesting. GDPR hasn't just changed how companies handle data. It's changed how we think about digital privacy. Remember when we used to just click accept all without reading anything? Now we're all amateur privacy experts reading cookie policies like we're studying for a final exam. The decision to implement GDPR has also had some unexpected consequences. For one, it's made EU citizens some of the most protected digital consumers in the world. It's like having a digital bodyguard that follows you around the internet, except instead of sunglasses and an earpiece, it wears bureaucratic red tape and speaks in legal jargon. And let's talk about compliance costs, because this is where things get spicy. Large companies have spent millions becoming GDPR compliant, while smaller businesses have had to navigate these requirements with fewer resources. It's like expecting everyone to buy a Ferrari when some people are still saving up for a bicycle. But here's the thing, despite the costs and complications, GDPR has fundamentally changed the conversation about data privacy. It's shown that it's possible to regulate the digital Wild West without breaking the internet. Sure, some companies complained that this would be the end of innovation, but spoiler alert, the internet's still here, and now it just asks for consent first. Looking ahead, GDPR's influence continues to grow. As of 2025, we're seeing new regulations building on its foundation, evolving to address emerging technologies like AI and quantum computing. It's like GDPR was season 1, and now we're getting spin-offs and sequels. So what can we learn from the EU's decision to implement GDPR? First, sometimes the best way to deal with a problem is to go big or go home. The EU didn't just put a band-aid on the privacy issue, they performed major surgery on the entire digital ecosystem. Second, good privacy protection is like a good relationship. It requires clear communication, respect for boundaries, and the occasional threat of massive fines. Okay, maybe that last one is just for GDPR. Finally, GDPR has shown us that privacy isn't just a luxury, it's a fundamental right. And while implementing these protections might be complicated and sometimes annoying, looking at you, cookie pop-ups. The alternative is a digital world where our personal data is treated with less respect than a pizza flyer. So there you have it, folks. The story of how the EU decided to become the world's privacy police and accidentally started a global revolution in data protection. It's a tale of bureaucracy, billions in fines, and the occasional panic attack from IT departments worldwide. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button faster than a company trying to comply with GDPR requirements the day before the deadline. And remember, in a world where data is the new oil, GDPR is like the Environmental Protection Agency of the internet, making sure we don't have any digital oil spills. Until next time, keep your data safe, your cookies consensual, and your privacy policies updated.